Hey, so I take care of my uncle, and he's a senior citizen. He is 74 years old. I think he might be 75 this year. I have to check. Anyway, one of the things that taking care of this guy has taught me is that sometimes you would be in a situation and things might seem to be completely insurmountable. You just have so many things to do at the same time. You're confused, you're depressed, you're worried, you are just overwhelmed by everything that has to be done. And one of the things that dealing with my uncle, taking care of him, has taught me is that when you're in a situation like that, what you have to do is the first thing that's in front of you that needs doing. And maybe that seems like silly advice, maybe it seems like it's so obvious, but at the time, when you're in the moment, it can seem that it's too much for you. Like you're not going to be able to handle it at all. And things that are common sense, things that are easy and simple to understand when you take yourself out of the moment, they're really hard to see. In some instances, and this is what I'm talking about, my uncle is a lot better now, but to be perfectly honest, sometimes I might get up in the morning and there might be feces all over the place. As in, he might have taken off his briefs, his disposable briefs, and, he might have touched different parts of his body, different parts of the bed, the curtain, and it's just like all over the place. And, that's hard to deal with. You potty train a kid, and hopefully that's the last time that you ever have to deal with something like that if you're a parent. But up to that point, it's something that most of us will never really have to deal with until you get to that point with a child. And the thing about a child is that they don't have as much maneuverability or mobility. They can't move around a room, for example. They can't hide their briefs like my uncle could do when he had more mobility. So, a kid that's in a crib, no matter how dirty they're going to get, they're not really going to be able to get up and, put their feces in a lot of different places. So what unfortunately happened that I saw, between me and my mother, is that my mother really couldn't get that part of it. She would just really just freeze up, and she might shout, or she might just go into, a mode where she has to be very, very detailed about cleaning, where she might put on, one of those face masks, and then use bleach and some other cleaner and gloves and the whole 9 yards. And the problem when you do all of that stuff is that before you even get to work, you've done all of this stuff. And if you're taking so much time to attend to the situation, you get tired and you get fed up long before you're done. And sometimes you kind of have to half-ass it, not in a bad way, but you do need to cut corners to say that, okay, I guess I don't have to wipe this surface 20 times. Maybe 5 times should be okay. Maybe I can use a bit of toilet paper and wipe this up here instead of pulling out a whole mop and a bucket and wiping it twice or three times. The water looks dirty, and now I have to rinse, throw the water out, and start over, to make sure everything is sparkling clean so I could eat off of it when I'm done. That takes so much effort that it's not something that you can do every day. So, but basically, having to deal with my uncle, it makes me feel like I'm not going to be able to tackle everything. I can't bring somebody back to life if I don't have some medical knowledge, or I don't know what my uncle's allergies might be. I just don't know. As in the case where, I think he had like a casein allergy, and I gave him skimmed milk that has more casein in it than, whole powdered milk. And he was really, really in a bad situation. He would barely respond. And he was breathing really shallow. From going through stuff like that, I realized that you just do what you can do. And you do the first thing that you can identify. And then when you're done with that, in a reasonable amount of time, you go on to the next thing that you can do, and to a reasonable level of completion. And then you do the third thing, and then you do the fourth thing. And all along the way, you decide, do I really have to do this now? Is this really, really necessary? Especially if it's in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning and you want to get back to bed before the sun comes up. So you just do the first thing in front of you to an adequate level of completion, and then you move on to the next thing. It's the same thing that, you would have learned when it comes to taking an exam. Sometimes you do the easy questions first. Or if you're playing a game of pool, sometimes you take those easy shots, because if you try for the hard shot and you miss, then the 3 easiest shots that you could have taken, you don't have the opportunity to get them. So I'm kind of glad that I have had the opportunity to help my uncle. And it's funny that I put it that way, but it is an opportunity that I would have never seen as an opportunity. I just kind of saw it as a burden in the beginning. But taking care of my uncle helps me to help me. I can see that if I sprain my leg, I'm not going to be able to help him. If I don't sleep well, I'm not going to be able to help him properly. If I don't take care of myself, then I can't take care of him properly. And a lot of these lessons, I think, are worthwhile lessons, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to learn them.